what they normally do. They'll kidnap you until you give them your name. If you get caught on a train and you haven't got a ticket, they'll kidnap you until you give them the name, because they want what's a thing called joinder, which is your name and address and your birth date, because they want your bond. They want the details of your bond. They want that for a very good reason, and I'll get back to that in a minute. So he gets arrested, he goes in there, and eventually the sergeant's there, and we've got this guy, he won't give us our name, I'll put him in the cell, then he's drunk, da-da-da-da-da. They let him go the next day.
You want me to?
Yeah, but the point is that they let him go. The reason, here's another one, it's really mind-blowing the way the whole stitch-up goes, is that bond that was created at your birth, there's a thing, it's a fancy French word, it says c'est que vie, which means for the benefit of another. It's something that was created after the Great Fire of London, when they were trying to find out all the dead people, all those people that were missing and all the other stuff. But on one side, but on the other side, they were trying to raise a new form of currency, of credit, because remember these guys, these Templars had done it before. How do you think they financed those big, nice Gothic cathedrals and all the rest of that with their money-lending, international banking scams and all that? But that's another history. But in 1666, after the Fire of London, they created a c'est que vie trust. The way they work it in terms of the occult side, they say, okay, you're born, you're created by the divine, and therefore you inherit the earth. And you inherit in abundance. If you can go on the internet, you can check it out. If we lived in the whole planet, 7 billion people lived in the same population density as Paris, we'd take up less than half the size of Texas. All the rest of that space on the planet would be left there. That would be it. It'd probably be crowded and horrible and all the rest of it, but that's about it. So you inherit, if you want to work it out, I took the time and trouble to do it actually. If you looked at it, you can do it online, work out all the nice arable, usable land, not the desert this guy was trying to claim, but that's there now, divided by 7 billion people. Each one individual gets 4 areas the size of Twickenham rugby field. All right, and that's good. That's your birthright. Exactly, that's 4 Twickenham-sized bits of dirt. That's your birthright. But of course, your mother registered you, so they take that asset, don't they, off you? That's your birthright. It's taken from you straight away. But what they do is they monetize it because they monetize you and that asset. And that asset is supposedly, from some researchers, I can't confirm it, but I know there's one lady that came here. She actually managed to find it around about £2 million. So you've got an account that you don't know anything about that's worth about £2 million in today's money. And what happens is this. When your electricity bill comes through, there's like this little check thing at the bottom, isn't there? It looks like an old-fashioned check, and it's got like 3 banks on it. Santander, National Westminster, or something like that. And it says take it to a post office, fill it out and stamp it and all the other stuff. Okay, here's a little secret for those who aren't hoodwinked. Every debt that you incur with a corporation is zeroed, or settled, because remember, it's not real money, it's credit, in 90 days. So any registered company that have got joinder, your name and address and your birthday, can apply to the Crown and settle that debt. And what they do, and this is what's financing the corporate takeover of the planet, is they get their bills paid for twice. They get it paid by the corporation, because corporations can print their own promissory notes or bills of exchange and negotiable instruments. But what they do is they get it from the second way of funding, which is the money they put into circulation, which is your sweat equity. So they get paid from your bond account, which you don't know anything about, and they get paid by the money that you've had to go and work for, and you pay that bill off, so they get paid twice. And corporations, that's what they do. And the guys that are high up in the financial aspects of those corporations know this stuff. I've dealt with them. You know, and you can play this stuff. You can say to the council tax or whatever it is, that's already been paid. It's 90 days, it's outstanding, it's been done. Prove to me that it wasn't. It hasn't been paid for. And they can't. Because what they're doing is they're technically committing a fraud. Because they're asking, it's a fraudulent, isn't it? If I say, this costs that much, and you've already paid for it, and I try to get you to pay for it twice, it's fraud, isn't it?
Oh, for the normal people.
Double bubble, isn't it? It's called double dipping. Okay, but this is all part of the system that we're living in. You've got all this stuff, all those rights, all that economic power. The corporations are playing a game when I was a kid, it used to be called Piggy in the Middle. Corporation's one side, and they've got this account, and they throw it over you, because you're down here like that, and the other one catches it, thanks for the money, I've got that, and you don't even know you've got that account. The occult aspect of it, again, is like, when you have to go to court, you're actually being invited to a dark ritual, which is why you're summoned. You're summoned to appear, like you're some sort of ghost or a spirit, because that's what they think you are, because that trust that's worth money, they don't tell you about it, but you could have reclaimed that within 7 years. But after 7 years, the law of salvage comes along, and the government say, okay, well, that's a wreck, well, we'll have that. So they salvage that, and they use that. So you can't get it anymore. Even though they know in the real world you're alive and flesh and blood, you know, because you've got your national insurance thing, you know, you go to the NHS, they know you're physical, you know, they'll take blood from you, all the other stuff. This occult system doesn't see it. They're off their dial, these guys. Unless we begin to see that this is what's really going on, instead of just going, oh, no, this is just preposterous, absolutely preposterous. How can this possibly be the case? Unless we kind of just, you know, open up our horizons a little bit, honesty, open-mindedness and willingness, and go, okay, well, I'll entertain this for a while, I'll do a bit of research and see if there's anything, this crazy guy was talking about. Do it yourself, check it all out. You're summoned to appear in a court. Why are you summoned? Because as far as they're concerned, you didn't collect that account within 7 years. So there, you're presumed dead. So if there's any liability, then they have to summon you, because that's what you are, you're a spirit. I know it sounds absolutely barking, raving mad, doesn't it? But this is the way they do it. Because the way these guys work is, and they've had many, many years to do this, they know if they can control your mind, then your body will follow. And they will use all manner of things. Just around the corner from here, there's a thing called the Tavistock Institute. Those of you that do a bit of research or do a bit of shrinky stuff like me, no, it really does some good work, but it's got some extremely dark aspects to it. And its whole founding is extremely dark. It's about mind manipulation. And really, when you start realizing how you're controlled in this system, they don't mind what religion you believe in. There is only one religion, and that's the religion of money. And they want you to believe in that more than anything else. That's what they're selling you, is that religion. You can go one day a week, if you like, to your church or whatever it is you go to and feel good about yourself. That's great, because as long as you go back the extra 5 days and you work, because that's your worth, that's your offering. You are handing over your will and your life to the god money.
And for those people who don't know it yet, the word mortgage comes from Lamont, death grip.
Death grip, that's where it comes from.
You buy one house, you have 6. By the time you pay the last installment, your life is finished.
Since you brought up the mortgage thing, say you decide you're going to buy a house in London, so you need £1 million at least, right, to buy a house in London. So you go in there, you go to the bank, and the bankers are the high priests of Baal. All right, God money. They're the high priests. And they sit you down and go, oh, you want to borrow some money? Well, the first thing they want to know is they're putting a scam on you is, what's your sweat equity worth? What do you earn as a slave? How much are you worth as a slave? So the first thing they do is they'll say, okay, we'll get you to sign this. And what they do is they get you to sign, remember, sign of nature, a promissory note. And they've got your name and they've got your address. So they take that promissory note and they put it in an account. And they, out of thin air, create £1 million. They always do it double dealing, double bookkeeping. They've got your bond that you don't know you have, and they've got all your details. So if you die, that's okay. That exists. It's got currency. And then they'll talk you into an insurance policy. It's called a life insurance policy. That's the one they'll like as well. So you go into the bank, and your signature has created £1 million. Okay, right? So in effect, you've actually already bought a house. Right? But then what they do is they talk you into paying another £1 million, which they call the principal. They deceive you by saying that we're lending you this £1 million. So you've gone into the bank as a sovereign, created, living being, soul, flesh, blood, inheritance and everything. Your signature's created £1 million. They've got an undertaking from you now to work for the rest of your life to create another £1 million, and they're going to charge you interest on that as well. So you've created £2 million plus whatever interest they want to put on the top of that. What have the bank risked? A big fat zero. But then that's the religion, isn't it? Because they get you to go out there. You are handing over something of value on a daily basis. When you clock in or you go to work, you're giving the most valuable thing that you've got, your time, your life. That's you paying homage to their God. Okay, you can go one day a week somewhere else and believe that you're doing something else. But physically in your reality, you've got no choice. You're in bondage. You want to talk about freedom? Tell me how long you're going to last without money in your pocket. And then you see how much freedom you got. That's the reality. That belief is so powerful. I mean, if you were to get £100,000 in news notes and just throw it on any street, Trafalgar Square or somewhere like that, you'd see complete insanity. You'd see total violence breaking out. I've worked in rehabs. I've specialised in the treatment of addictive clients, drug addicts, alcoholics. And their parents would come in and they would say to me, well, he's done detox, he's done his cold turkey, surely those cravings are gone. He's not physically addicted to it anymore. I said, no. And they look at me like this. I said, no, it's a psychological addiction, it's the most important thing. I said, they're addicted to a mood and mind-altering substance. And they said, well, we don't understand, as long as he doesn't drink anymore, as long as he doesn't do any more heroin, he'll be fine. That's what changes his mood and his mind. And I say, okay, here's a table. I'll put a wee baggie, a smack, some brown on the corner there, a bit of coke, a bit of marijuana, a bit of nice grass, a nice sticky bud, say, something like that would be nice. Some bottles of Moet Chandon, some Nuit Saint-Georges, a few bottles of Rioja, or if you want, a couple of tins of Tennent's. Or special brew. What would you like? And they go, oh no, we're not really interested in anything else. I'll tell you what, I'll put £5 in used 20s. Oh, that'd be nice. How would that make you feel? And they go, oh yeah, that makes me feel great. I say, okay, all these other substances, if you imbibe them, there's a chemical reason that's going to change your mood and your mind. But you're telling me this printed paper is going to make you happy? Is going to change your mood and your mind? Watch them on the game shows when they win something. Watch them with the gambling. Watch them. That's a mood and mind-altering substance that's more powerful than all the other ones on the table. Because all the other ones on the table, you can get rid of that addiction. You don't have to be addicted to that. There's ways around that addiction. But that other addiction, that psychological addiction, you try getting along without that one. Even if you want to, even if you try not to. It's probably the hardest addiction that there is. Exactly. So that's what you're kind of dealing with in terms of the mind programming and the addiction. Now it sounds really dark and gloomy and all the rest of it, but there is a solution, and really the solution is always been there. And this is probably why it's going to sound a bit cheesy and corny, that the solution is a thing called a spiritual program, is to reclaim your soul, your sense of value, your sense of worth. And there are plenty of spiritual programs out there that don't demand you give them shed loads of money and all the other stuff. In fact, if you want to find the genuine ones, they'll be the ones that won't be wanting the money from you, because they'll be on that spiritual program themselves. And there will be one out there, if you really want it, that will fit itself perfectly to what you are.
I know one.
Yeah, well, there's one that will suit you. There's one that suits everybody here, but what you have to do. And this was the one that got me when I worked in rehabs. the reluctance that people would have to pray. There's a meaning in this word pray. It's because part of our social program is we have I'm going to get a bit shrinky now, we have what's called a reflective